Hey guys, in this video I'm going to talk about going from tourist to a non-tourist here in the Philippines. What do I mean by that? I'm talking about the way you think, the way you act, and the way you carry yourself living here in the Philippines. Stick around. Alright, so when I first got here, I noticed something, and I started to notice this later with everyone else as well. But when you first get here, you go into what I call tourist mode. Now, that's okay if you're coming out here and you're here for a month, right? You're really essentially a tourist, and you come out here and you enjoy everything, and you stay at a hotel, and you probably spend a lot more than you normally would because of eating out and seeing things and going places, things like that. But at some point, you go from tourist mode to non-tourist if you're moving to the Philippines. Now, when I say non-tourist, I mean, even though you may not be like a citizen of the Philippines, you start to incorporate their habits and their thinking. And when I say thinking, I mean like thinking in pesos, thinking in metrics, things like that. I'll explain a little bit further. But let's go back to being a tourist. When I first landed here, I really went through a lot of money pretty quickly. And afterwards, I was like, oh my God, I was spending like I was on vacation. And in fact, I hadn't been on vacation. I had moved here, but I was spending like I was on vacation. So, and I think everybody does this. Initially, when you get here, you will just compare everything in prices. You will compare it to what the price might be in your country. For example, if I went out to go get a cup of coffee and I said to myself, oh, it's 130 pesos, that's around a little under $3 US. Oh, well, in the US at this coffee shop I would have spent 5. So, wow, this is a great deal. Or you hop in a taxi and you say, oh, normally it would have cost me 40 bucks to get to the airport, and here it's only costing me $10, 500 pesos. And you continue to think like this instead of comparing to what it really should cost there in the Philippines. And most people don't get to that point till they've been here a while. And it's okay. And I actually see a lot of people sometimes even in the forums. For example, I'm in this restaurant group, and I'll see maybe some new foreigners that are here review a restaurant, say the prices were really cheap. And then you'll have the guys who have lived here in the Philippines chime in and say, that place is a ripoff, that is way too expensive. And those people are thinking, what are you talking about? In the US or in Australia, I used to spend this much. And so you have two different mindsets. You got the people who've been here a while who have converted their thinking, and then you've got the people who are still kind of in tourist mode. And it just kind of happens, you spend a lot more than you normally would. But after a while, something happens where you no longer think in your currency. For example, when I go out to eat now, I don't really think, oh wow, in the West I used to spend this much. Now I think about, oh wow, over at this restaurant in Dumaguete, it would have been this much. And here it's twice as much. So I'll think to myself, wow, this is really expensive. But I'm no longer comparing it to the prices that I had in the West. I've now converted to what I call non-tourist mode, where I'm comparing it with other like restaurants maybe within the city that I'm staying at, like Dumaguete. And that is when you become the non-tourist. Not only that, I remember as an American, we're like one of the only countries who doesn't use metrics. Luckily, I had a little experience because when I was in the Army, I was stationed in Germany. And therefore, when we were out and about, we were using metrics. I remember at that time, it was very confusing to me. Okay, how many? Everything was like I was converting everything. I had to convert it. I'm like, okay, how many miles is this? Is 10 kilometers? How many grams is this? I remember being here and going to the market the first time, and I wanted hamburger meat. And I remember thinking to myself, God, how much hamburger meat do I need? What is 500 grams? I mean, all I saw is the price per kilo. My mind wasn't even thinking in grams. I was like, if I remember right, I don't even think I knew how many grams was in a kilo. It's pretty sad to say, but a lot of us Americans are like that. But I've since converted, and now I can't think in, I don't even think in pounds. And when people ask me how much do you weigh, I'll say I weigh this, this many kilos. I'm not gonna diverge that. I'm on a diet. But when they ask me in height, I'm saying it in meters. I'm 1.76 meters, or I'm 176 centimeters, or something like that. I've since converted myself. And so this is what I call the non-tourist mode. And this is really your goal. When you get here, you don't want to be thinking and comparing everything with your home country. Now, this is natural. It's going to happen. I mean, there's a process where you start to, change. But once you've living here, you want to get out of that mode as quickly as you can, because that's when you really start to understand more of you kind of relate more to the Philippines. You can, when people are talking, oh, you got the air conditioner set at 26 degrees. It's 32 degrees out. It's too cold in here. And you're thinking to yourself, my God, what is that in Fahrenheit? Or Celsius? Yeah, Fahrenheit. And, I'm thinking, okay, is 80 degrees? Is that hot? You're just trying to convert everything. And again, I've gotten to the point where I've gotten out of that mode. But a lot of people, when they get here, they do the old comparison of the West, Australia, UK, wherever, and you tend to go through a lot of money. I know I did. I mean, everything was like, oh my God, this is so cheap. Let me go shopping. Let me go do this. Let me go see this tourist place. It's only 2,000 pesos to swim with the whale sharks. That's like 40 US. This would cost me $150, $200 in Key West to go swim with the dolphins, or the thinking like that. You have to start getting out of that mode, and you have to find out. It's okay to ask locals. That's the best thing to do. Is, for example, you come up on a tricycle or a jeepney or whatever. You ask locals, say, hey, how much should it cost to take this tricycle to this? Before you ever wave one down, ask them, how much should this cost? Because often they'll just pull up and you're going to ask how much, and guess what? They see you as a foreigner and they're going to triple the price. Not always, but there are definitely honest, good ones out there, and those are the ones you grab to take you around town for the weekend or something if they're honest. But yeah, you have to change. You got to change your mindset. You do, or you will go through money and you'll be overspending. For example, like when you go to the market here, if you go to an outdoor market, it is not the same as going to some market in the US or Australia, where all the prices might be listed. You walk up and you're going to see mangoes, and you're not going to know how much they are. Now, there are places that do list the price outside on a sign. So those are the places maybe to go to until you're comfortable and you know how much they should cost. But ask Filipinos before you walk up to that salesperson at the market, at the outdoor market. Say, hey, how much should mangoes cost? And they'll tell you. They'll say, oh, those are Indian mangoes. Those should run about 70 pesos per kilo. And then you go over there and say, okay, how much? And if they say 150, you say, no way, I'm not paying more than 70. Because now you know. And maybe they'll come back and say, okay, well, 80. All right, then that's okay. But again, it's all about changing your mindset, and especially if you're an American, we have the hardest time because we have to change from yards and feet and inches and miles, and we have to change over to the metric system. For other people coming from Europe and other places, it is a much easier process because they're already used to kilometers. They're used to the temperature being in, I think, in Celsius. I hope I didn't mess that up. And they're used to meters and how many grams of meat. We're not. So even do yourself a favor, study the metrics before you get out here. Be that better prepared. Ask around how much things should cost. Ask other people, hey, where should I go eat? What's a good place? what's a good budget place. Don't just go to all the tourist spots. Do this. Go from tourist mode as quickly as you can to non-tourist mode. Now, that is for the people who are going to live here, not for the people who truly are tourists. Anyway, I appreciate you guys watching the video. If you want additional videos and information, you can check out my website, geointhephilippines.com, where I have a Geo's Essential Travels list of things you should buy that I personally use myself out here before coming out here. And I have a lot of information on the website, a contact form, and even consultations. Check it out, and I'll see you guys next time.